Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life chose us.
Thank you to Revise for backing us up and making the Jira Life possible.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Ronnie, if I could reach across the screen and give you a hug. Welcome back, buddy. Missed you.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks.
You can't be doing these things to me, man. I take you all the way to Barcelona. You tell me you're A-okay.
And to be fair, I was all right in Barcelona. I was not all right in Georgia.
Now I felt guilty. I was like, man, if I wouldn't have made him carry his luggage all the way up that hill. But we're not here to talk about us, Ronnie. We're here to talk about some amazing things happening in the Forge and developer community. And we have two amazing guests, Dan, who needs no introduction, and Peter, who also doesn't need an introduction. Some of my two favorite folks from on the other side of the pond. Welcome, Dan and Peter.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Are you in a closet?
No.
It looks like a very small room.
Well,
I feel like I'm in an episode of
offices. We have two home offices. This is one of them.
Okay. I thought you were like in Severance where like white
it's
room.
dark outside. It's 11 p.m.
Yeah.
I was just like, are you being held against your will?
No, Peter's trying not to wake up the kids.
Okay. That makes sense. I just got to stop watching Severance then. It just looked like so odd, like white walls and a clock. Like, what is this?
Well, on the other side, there's a Princess Castle, there's a couple of board games, and there's the air conditioning.
That's the background you need. All right. Well, folks, you guys just had a heck of a week, and I think you guys should maybe walk us through it. What happened last week?
Absolutely.
Well, it was Atlas Camp, to be honest. Was exciting, amazing. I've been to a lot of Atlas camps. The first one was 2013, also in Amsterdam, so a long time ago. And this one was different for me in a couple of ways. The audience was more diverse. There were a lot of new people. So on the first day keynote, I think Tiffany asked, like, who's new? Who's his first Atlas camp? I think half the audience raised their hands, which was, to me, impressive.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
But also the diversity. There were customers, there were engineering leads, there were solution partners, marketplace partners. It was a very diverse audience. It used to be Atlas Camp was only for marketplace partners. Now it was for everybody, and it showed already in the audience. Also loved the venue, loved how it was organized. And honestly, I think it was one of the best Atlas Camps I've been to.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was interesting to see the changing demographic and seeing not just from the content shift and Atlassian making it feel like those early versions of Team back when it was Summit, relatively low ticket price. You're trying to draw in people who are almost in love with the ecosystem and want to meet the Atlassians, and they flood it with Atlassians to come and see if you can get on the same page with them. And while there is the keynotes, it feels a lot more rough and ready than Team. Very much people just wandering up with ideas, and you're talking far more with the people around you. It feels almost like there's as many opportunities to hang around and socialize with the other attendees as there is to sit down and listen to the presentations. There's no booths, there's no partners sponsoring to support the event in the way that you'd expect it to. Instead, the booths are Atlassians talking about EAPs or wanting to share some design feedback or wanting to there's even some DC people hanging around talking about what feature complete looks like and the path ahead there. And actually getting to see the people behind it. Yeah, it was really interesting connecting with people when they didn't have a message to send, and it feels like there was a lot of listening going on.
So why do you think they canceled our Atlas camp then?
Sorry, didn't get that.
Why do you think they canceled our Atlas camp then?
Oh, I don't think there's any secret. Have you seen the wildfires going on inside I mean, the team's run by, supported heavily by the DevRel team, right? And Atlassian's DevRel team have had some personnel challenges driven by environmental effects. I think it's been quite open that the people that are running it aren't able to focus on running events, and maybe this isn't the year to do it logistically when the weather tells you not right now. I think you sit up and listen, unfortunately. Also, I think that Atlassian took it as a hint to really double down on Amsterdam and get the messaging right, and listen to the feedback of customers and solution partners who came along, and make sure that they feel at home, so that you turn up to an event that is not just pitched at a wider demographic, but actually is valued by that demographic as well. I think it was interesting going to the workshops afterwards. I think about half of the team that were turning up were treating it more like the workshops you see at Team, where you're sitting down and you're learning about things, when really it's almost like a co-working space for people to sit and play with Rovo Dev and play with the tooling, and have Atlassians and have your peers around you as you all learn together, going, hey, this isn't what I was expecting, or hey, how do I use this container thing? And Forge Real Time seems to have these sharp edges, and how do I deal with that? And rather than using the forums, and typically you'd have to go to community.developer.atlassian.com, or you'd reach out to the various Slack communities, etc. You had literally people there to sit down and pair with you, and perhaps it's one of the product managers for the EAP, or potentially it's even the engineer, or you might even have Sean Burke, who's leading Forge as a whole, sat there, right there, ready with you. And it's an opportunity that comes around only once a year, because while you see these people at other events, they're flooded with different priorities when they go to the likes of Team, and they're often marshaled around to make sure that they're focused on delivering to customers. And here it's delivering to the ecosystem. And I think they managed to recapture that sort of feeling of community that has sort of drifted away over the past couple of iterations. I think they did really well at it.
Yeah, I think the workshop days reminded me of the Connect weeks and app weeks of old. For those of you who've been in the ecosystem for a while, know that those were invite-only hackathon weeks, where you brought 50 external engineers and 50 Atlassian engineers together, and they hacked on new APIs, they hacked on new ideas, all of those things. But that was invite-only, only for marketplace partners. Well, this workshop day was anybody could come and join. Once again, more open, more diverse, more focused on expanding the ecosystem, expanding the people and the group of people who are building apps for Atlassian. I really enjoyed it. Also, at the end, we had the demos, which I didn't briefly talk about. But
yeah, I was hoping you maybe start from the beginning, right? Because you had a very influential post on LinkedIn that I think would be worthy to maybe take some of the highlights from, and then
you should definitely start off with the keynotes. So
yeah.
Peter,
but even before the keynotes, there was a pre-Atlas Camp event that you guys hosted, right?
Oh, sure, we can talk about.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning. From the moment you woke up that morning and got on a plane or train or whatever you guys do over there.
Yeah, so we run an unconference for partners. So you have to be under an Atlassian NDA of some form. So it usually means an Atlassian partner agreement, or you're contracting through a partner, or you're an Atlassian yourself. Anything that means that you're fitting inside of an NDA space, so we know everyone's got access to the partner systems of information. And then we put them all in a room, and it's an unconference. And for anyone who's unfamiliar with the unconference, it's very much like a conference, but not. We do all of the work to pull together this wonderful agenda of nothingness. In fact, we just have boxes of time, so 4 time slots across the day, and 7 rooms in parallel, and a big round table in each. It's a bit like every meeting you've ever been to. There's sort of an agenda, but no one really knows what you're going to talk about for the next hour. And by the end of it, hopefully, you've learned something. We stick a scribe and a moderator in each to make sure everyone is heard. And the very first thing we do is give people sticky notes, and they stick on the wall what they want to talk about. And then they do. and we have hallways, and it is a day of conversations that are loosely connected and guided, and conversations are really interesting as how they evolve. So people might be talking about trust signals with A4A and with runs on Atlassian, or how customers really value data egress and how to build those things, or talking about how to use a marketplace API and the limitations that come with that, or what spaces there are in order for us to build solutions. What the hell is a solution? Is it just rebranding what we're already doing? Probably not. What does a more radical version of this evolution of this marketplace look like? One of the most interesting sessions was a time traveler one. Let's imagine we're 10, 20 years in the future. We've won. Let's just imagine we've won. What might that now look like? And what might we have achieved? We can worry about getting there later. All of these things were people sticking on the wall going, I want to talk on this. It wasn't us going, we've picked these sessions, come and listen. It wasn't us going, here are the workshops we're running, come if you want to. It very much was, we're putting people of interest in a space that were committed to driving a community and watching the community thrive. It is wonderful watching it take place, and each time we've done it, we've done twice before, and we're going to do it again in Anaheim. Thanks, Alex, for creating the shell for us to operate in. Each time we've done it, it's got bigger and better, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes in Anaheim and beyond.
Yeah, it was my highlight of my trip to Barcelona, and so I'm like, I need to participate in this. Ronnie,
definitely. We had people coming to Amsterdam just for the event, just for the unconference. We also had people offers coming, especially to me, saying, this felt like therapy. I was sitting in this room, people were talking, and suddenly somebody across the table from me, who I didn't know, except from like maybe a post on the community, told a story, and that was my story they were telling. They were my challenges they were having. And I felt so accepted and confirmed in, okay, I'm not the only one struggling with this.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice place and space where we bring the people together, we give them some guidelines, but they make the content and they make it amazing because it's an amazing community.
Yeah, it's definitely therapy.
I think we noticed a year ago that trust, especially between partners, and especially during the M&A years, and with Atlassian doing some acquisitions or just going ahead and Sherlocking things, there's been a lot of trust that had broken down from when I was back doing this stuff 5-6 years ago, and we're seeing the grassroots again really start to thrive and shoot up through, and I'm looking forward to supporting that. It runs at the beginning of the conference because it gives people ideas. It's that you're not just you and what you came for, you're hearing what other people are coming through for. As Peter pointed out, you start to hear the echo around, and now I want to know what that's about. Or maybe you're planning for a session, and actually I think that's a really good way to start up so that you get your brain firing on all cylinders and ready for the rest of the conference. You just need to remember not to party too hard on the first night.
Yeah. And I think a real important point of this was the fact that when we were sharing, especially the one that me and Alex participated in Barcelona, you were somewhat anonymously there. You were not. I was able to share honest opinions without having to go back, oh, the Jira guy said, or Dr. Jira said.
Mm-hmm. We run under something called Chatham House rules. And Chatham House rules says that you're free to share anything except for attribution. So you can't say who said it or the company they work for it. So you can't say that the Jira Life thinks this or that Rodney, the Jira guy, said this. But it gives you the ability in order to share a thought or an expression that you don't necessarily want to be attributed to you or communicated in public. Now, there's a lot of trust involved in that, and for better or worse, it goes. And
I think it brings everybody together. It's for better.
But the intent helps. And also we have a moderator there who we encourage the moderation to be not about steering the conversation, but to ensure that the conversation is wholesome and inclusive. And so if the conversation is bouncing between 3 people out of 10, after 10 minutes, let's stop and see what the other 7 want to talk about. If the other 7 are like, we want you 3 to carry on, we're enjoying watching this show, then great. But I would still like to hear what those 7 people would talk about if the 3 weren't there. And so, it's the format we use is not lean conferences, although it's very similar. We use open spaces, but they all follow a very similar pattern.
So May 3rd, mark your calendar. If you're coming to Team 26, Sunday, May 3rd, we're going to be bringing this to y'all in Anaheim. And so very, very excited for that. As soon as we do that, like, I'm done. The rest of the week is shot. There's no highlight anymore.
Tickets are already available. You do need to be NDA'd under a partner in some way. If you're unsure about whether you qualify, please reach out to Peter, myself, or Mark Reckveld from Marvolution.
Awesome. So now we get to a keynote.
What do you think of the first keynotes? And I think you shared with us on LinkedIn.
No, I didn't share anything. It was all Peter.
It wasn't my intention to get that many people interested. And
right. You just wrote a long, nice, worthy post. Not trying to stir the pot.
But basically, the idea I got out of the keynote is what was in the LinkedIn post. Look, RoboDev is here, AI is here, Forge, like everything is going to go quicker and quicker and quicker. It's now super easy to build your own app. It's also something Atlassian is driving to. It's something we've been seeing them doing for a long time. Like if you look back a year and a half ago, they were already doing these kind of things. They were building more features. They were trying customers to start building with Forge. They were doing workshops, a team for customers to start learning how to do Forge, how to work with Rovo. And it just continued, but now very much on stage where they were saying, look, this is how easy it is to build an app. And for me, that was very clear that just having a feature, an addition to Jira or Confluence, no longer is a valuable business model unless you very specialize in it and say, I'm going to build an exact, like a feature for school teachers using Jira, whatever, and they just need this. They need an integration with a Blackboard app or whatever. But everything else, it's just too easy to build with Forge, and it's too easy to build with RoboDev. Like I've played with RoboDev, and it was super fun, super easy, but just prompts to build apps. Are those apps high quality? Are those apps maintainable and supportable in the long term?
No.
Maybe, maybe not.
No.
Maybe they need a partner to do this, and I think there's definitely opportunity there. But even then, customers are being asked by Atlassian, try it, play around with it, experiment. And that's what they're going to do. And that's what they're going to start thinking about. So that's what I wanted to get me that post. Like, look, there's so much opportunity out there, and there's a whole new ecosystem coming with a massive amount of opportunity, but it's going to be different than the old one. It's no longer just about your code. It's about how you run a business. It's about the solution you bring to a problem. It's about a combination of services and technology. It's about finding the right subject matter experts.
But at a deep cost and a deep expense.
Yes and no. Depends on how, well, software engineers are very expensive, of course. So once again, that's what's come with running a business. It's now making those choices. It's making those bets. It's understanding what's the value you bring. And the value is different than just lines of code, because now lines of code has become really, really easy to create. And this is just the beginning. I'm seeing RoboDev, I'm seeing Studio, I'm seeing all of those tools get better and better and better.
I was able to take an application that I've been building for 3 years, and I was able to hammer it out with my wife in an hour with anti-gravity. Fully functional. It deployed in my Jira. It just blew my mind away.
Yeah, this is what we saw in the opening keynote, was a customer brought on stage and described the customer's app. So it's easy for was the comment, right? Easy for everyone. And that's the democratization of being able to build apps and build software, to be honest. And whether you're using RoboDev for this or whether you're using Claude Code, there's a million tools out there, almost, in order for you to be able to go off and build these things. And it's never been easy to get started from having an idea to having something. Now, do you have something good? I mean, ask any artist or anyone who's played with art as to how good they think Midjourney comes up with a response to prompts. But it is an idea that allows you to state what you want to exist, and for a thing to exist at the end of it. We're now in a case where it can go off and it understands Forge, it understands how to build and install an app, and for that app to now exist inside of your Jira instance or your Confluence instance, or even as a third-party app that runs separately. But what about maintaining that? What about solving the problems? And what about operationally keeping it up to date as API? If you've integrated this with your lunchtime menu that comes from caterers, and then you switch caterers, now it's broken and it doesn't work. Or maybe you were running on a project and you had an external consultancy working with you, and you integrated with their Jira, and you also integrated with your Zero system. And now you change the implementation partner that you're working with, and the person who was who vibe coded this together is on holiday or has been pulled onto another team or another project. Someone else now has to take over this, figure out what was intended and what it does, and replace that. It's really interesting that people tend to focus on the solution being built, almost like they focus on the code of it. And that's not where the value lies in building these things. The value comes from understanding the problem and what the solution of that should be. And creating lots and lots of solutions isn't a bad thing, but also we should be very honest with ourselves about what it is. And it almost is these ephemeral prototypes, and nothing lasts longer than a prototype in production. But also those things fall apart so easily when you poke them, test them, or you want it now to do this but something else. And we are watching ourselves be disrupted quite significantly in thinking about what our value is as both customers and users of Jira, but also marketplace vendors who build an app that do a thing. As a software developer, your value is not lines of code. I've seen people 20 years ago used to measure performance by lines of code or pull requests completed.
Slock is there's a reason why we have a Slock term.
And we laugh about that nowadays because we know that that was never really the value of the engineer, right? The quantity of lines. In fact, almost we started measuring people by the number of lines they deleted as to how much of this efficiency are you building. Now, I don't really value people. That's how Ellen wants it. The less we talk about what Ellen thinks is hip and hop, the better, because Ellen often measures
nerves for people.
I think Ellen measures the amount of times that people go home. I definitely don't think that Ellen is the work idealist that we should be driving for.
To aspire
and also, I think
you don't want to sleep in your office's chair.
There's you sidetracked. Of course you have. You mentioned the beast, right? And by beast, it's this image that you've got a person who works for 15 hours a day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. No, man. Yeah. Anyway, right. So getting back to lines of code, that's the only way it came from. Lines of code is not the measure that any engineering leader should be measuring their team's effectiveness by. And in fact, as a CPTO, Chief Product and Technology Officer, you care more about how effectively you went from problem to solution, had that in the hands of the customer, and got feedback. AI has enabled us to get that loop really down quickly, and that we want these tight feedback cycles. I think the biggest challenge that we have inside of our industry right now is to what to do about Agile, because people are so stuck on Scrum, so stuck on Kanban, that these are just implementations of the Agile Manifesto. And we have to break those apart to understand what these small feedback cycles are, and how can we get back to building those into our systems and doing less of the stuff that can be done more effectively by others. I've literally just been talking about this with some keynote speakers for a conference in May called DevOps UK. It's one of the ones I run. And I was chatting with Sven Peters about how do we put onto stage, because this is a bunch of Java developers, what your job's going to look like in the next 2 years? How do we help these people who are just given these tools and told to be better and do more with less? And here, instead of giving you a pay rise, I'm paying for AI tools. You better make it worth it. And how do we? So we're told to be humans in the loop. How do we be good humans in the loop? And I think that was the conversation throughout all of the AI talks that were coming up during Atlas Camp. Was we were talking about AI and seeing how people were picking their place in the loop. And you were seeing what Valiansis were talking about, the toolkit that they built, and talking about building automotive components for Forge. So a layer of stuff that, hey, you could just use Jira, or you could use this layer of tooling that we've built that gets you further along if you're in the automotive industry of needing to track which component is used in both a gearbox and this bit over here, and this bit fails or changes. What do we need to change in the supply chain in order to do that? If we have to do a recall, which models are affected by that? Who's got it where, in which, and you've got different regulations in different places. And so who's affected by that? It's like, well, great. We can build a layer of knowledge management that if you use Jira with these tools, you build on top of this in a far easier way. And so this is an example of hyper-verticalizing. It's not even hyper-verticalizing. It's an entire industry. And it doesn't just affect automotive, but that works in planes too. And pretty much everything that has a widget thing that impacts through regulation across multiple geographies and multiple jurisdictions. We're going to see a lot more of that. And we're seeing stuff celebrated on stage for what the future might look like for them.
Ronnie.
Yeah. Some 4 points back now. You reminded me something. I remember movie Office Space, 1999. The efficiency consultants that were absolutely
Flabbergasted
on Robert Zane. I take the customers and translate that to the programmers. And the joke is 26 years ago, that was a non-job. That was extra. I mean, we all know the officially that was a job that people needed to do, but it was not taken seriously. And I'm just thinking, now that we move into the dev world, or the Vive dev world, that's pretty much the whole job, or that is the most important job right now, is what they're doing. People who can translate from what customers actually need and communicate that effectively is one of the most important skills right now as we move forward. And I just find that hilarious that it went from a joke to
reality.
No, that's really like the most important job.
I believe
it's always been. Yeah. Are you sure that wasn't always the most important job?
It wasn't as obvious back then.
No,
it wasn't as obvious. And that's the point I was trying to say, is the whole the movie made a joke of that, even though we all know objectively, yeah, that was important. It was thrown away as a joke 26 years ago.
Yeah, I think what it means, so every one of us who would consider ourselves knowledge workers are becoming knowledge managers. And there's two things that come from that. The first is, it's a trope that you take your best developers and you turn them into your worst managers. And the amount of times I've seen people throw tools and then, because you just promote a person into becoming a manager, and what support do you give them on their human skills, on developing that empathy, on being able to help? That's problem A. And problem B is, we don't teach people how to delegate, especially ICs. And we don't, if you are struggling to delegate to AI, you're probably struggling with delegation, generally speaking. And so if you look over your created and storied histories, the amount of times you can count bad managers and bad people who you've had interactions with for communication outstrips, probably to a factor of 10 to 1, people who you're like, oh, I get exactly that. They're really easy to work with. I understand. Well, oh, they gave me a task and I took it and I handed it back to them and way they loved it and I get praise. We really need to get management and human empathy amongst people to be a much greater scale. All this is doing is really underscoring how poorly as a industry that we really have these skills just not spread amongst us, and giving someone a better Google or giving someone another tool isn't going to help with the understanding that's missing. And we're just not investing in people like we should. And while that's not that investment's not happening, it's really up for people to recognize that and develop it themselves.
It's something. So my wife is a psychologist, and she talks a lot about system thinking, but not from the architectural kind of thing that we as developers would think about, but from peoples and relationships, and how any of us is influenced by the entire system surrounding us, our family, friends, work, our upbringing, all of those kind of things. And it's something that we see all the time in industry and in work too. Like, all those people come together, they're a system, they need to work together, but all of them are imperfect. They're not perfect like our code is, of course, but we think of them as they are perfect beings doing the perfect thing all the time. And they should be, because we're paying them. And that's also a problem there still in our industry in general. And well, with AI, we've got a whole bunch of other team members who are part of a system that isn't perfect, even though we might imagine it to be perfect. So a lot of people look at AI either as just a tool they need to push into a box in their already existing app or their already existing solution, or they look at it as a teammate or maybe just another way to code something or whatever. But once again, it's more than that. It's a new part of your system that you need to figure out how it works best together with everything else, and how indeed, like Dan says, how you can manage it, how you can help it, how it can help you and your entire system. And I think we need to become more of builders. We need to become system architects, and we need to honestly become better at relationships, also with humans and maybe eventually with AI tools and all of those kind of things.
Yeah, because you don't want to upset your AI overlords. Skynet, right?
All Sarah said, everything is a system, and it's right that, and actually it's even lower level than that, as Peter pointed out, is everything is relationships, because it's all communication. It's ask any CTO that has been on any form of training or any leadership training comes in, it's people, processes, technology, in that order. It never is the technology. I mean, you can fix it with technology if you have to. Technology is there to be supporting. We know, I mean, we've all used Jira, right? And we have people complaining about Jira, and I hate Jira. No, you don't. You hate how Jira is configured. It's not really the technology. The problem is your processes aren't aligned with your configuration. And no, actually, it's probably you and what you asked of your process in the first place. Because if you think of it, Jira is doing what it's told, and then your processes are what someone designed a while and probably don't reflect how you work. But right at the top, do you know how you work? Do you actually know what you want? I mean, the amount of time that I've just outsourced to someone else.
Given how little, what you just describes an inherent problem of, like, okay, so all we're doing is amplifying these people that have people problems and just giving them like these super powerful tools. Like, that's dangerous.
I mean, the crazy old man said they don't hate the tool, they hate having to follow rules. I'm not sure that's true. They hate that the rules give them pain. But
now they have the tools to do virtually anything they want.
Yes, and you have to be there, and with great power comes great responsibility. You have this Swiss Army knife that you could do anything, and people are cutting themselves and then blaming the knife. I mean, really, come on.
So we're just going to enter. I think I was talking with Josh Golicinski. We're just going to enter natural selection, a period of natural selection and Darwinism in the modern day.
I kind of wish that was true, but that's not how we're seeing layoffs take place. It's not. I mean, it's not happening in that way. I mean, okay. Let me put it up to you. You say yet. What will be the forcing function that means that we have natural selection that applies judiciously, so that we have the smartest people, the most appropriate people to end up surviving this.
I think companies are going to get the people that are able to hone in on the skills that you just described, right? Those system thinkers, those architects, right? People that can think critically and that can leverage the power of AI, and you're going to corral your best folk, and then everybody else is either not needed or obsolete or not needed to be around. Like, why do you need a company with 10,000 people when you can do it with 1,000 super users or super employees?
You can do the same as what you could do with 1,000 people trying to achieve what 10,000 do. You can do more with less, or you can do more with more. And so,
but you can't do. But garbage in is garbage out. You can't do more with crappy people. You can do more with excellent people.
Well,
but you hired these people at some point to start with.
Dude, how many employees
are you saying you're hiring crappy people?
You're like, the hiring bar in this company needs to be revamped.
And so if you have a look at the bet placed by Klarna, he fired, the CEO fired tons of people and made $1 billion of mistake from a valuation point of view. Anyway, he described it it's not as simple to say, I can do what I'm doing today and get rid of people.
I'm not saying you're going to get rid of everybody, but I think if you're inherently lazy and you are like in that episode of Office Space or that movie, like, I think there's no future for that, because all those vulnerabilities are going to be exposed so evidently, right? Like, you're going to see people that have all the tools that can be hyper productive.
I want to challenge you, Alex. First off, we can be amazing one day and we can be terrible the next day.
Right, well, I mean,
none of us is perfect. None of us is superhuman all the time. Some of us are maybe more than others, whatever. Also, why do we need to do more and more? Why can't we just do better and actually enjoy life a bit more? Focus a bit more on giving back, on bringing something back, maybe even do the 4-hour work week. There's a book out there.
I was going to give you an answer, but you're not going to like it. But it's the American way. We don't know what it means like to take a chill pill. Like, all we know is pedal to the metal and crank it to 11.
Well, then wouldn't you want to try and do what you can achieve with 100,000 with 10, rather than go from 10,000 down to 1? This is what gives you the competitive edge, because you already have a functional team. If you don't, your organization was broken, and AI is just accelerating your brokenness.
That's kind of what I'm trying to. Yeah.
I mean, all this is automation, right? Automation makes what you have working or break. I mean, when they said fail fast, that's not what they mean. So when Sarah says you might do better with more people, you might do better with the same number of engaged people if everyone gets an assistant. Well, it's only if you know how to use an assistant. It's only if you. I mean, I remember when I first got an EA, and I was not more efficient and effective. In fact, there is less fatigued is quite an interesting thing, because I sit inside of CTO groups. There's one in London of 850 of us, and we're hearing people get burnt out by using AI. Because the way in which it works is that you fire off your Claude code and you end up with 5-10 of them running at the same time, because they take 10 minutes and come back. And you're having to keep all this context switching in your head. You're doing strategic thinking all the time. There's a good reason why the Silicon Valley guys are famous for wearing the same clothes day in and day out for one less decision to make. That decision fatigue is real. And if you want to read into the biology behind it, it's your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems that you're burning out as part of this. There's only so many decisions you make in a day. So there's a whole ton of psychology on it. But we are optimizing for burning that hard. We're not just burning tokens, we're burning our mental capacity at the same time. And so actually we're finding that you're getting super fatigued and super burnouts coming out. And it's really interesting, the space and how do we balance that. But then Joshua picks up on, hi Josh, on essential employees never get fired. I don't believe that. Now, in a small organization, absolutely, because you can see who is essential. I have been in banks, I have been in large law firms where the edict comes down that you're cutting a 10, 15, X% of your headcount in. So, and you get given some algorithms about how this applies. They don't care who you are. You could have been the best person there and you're gone. Because it goes
you're only gone if somebody doesn't cheerlead for you.
sometimes you don't have the opportunity because it's HR. And if you're in a 10,000 person organization, hell, if you're in Atlassian at 18,000, when they, I know there were really good people in the
If you're at
CSM
18,000
team in the
people, no.
Amsterdam office
Right.
that should have stayed
Absolutely.
Atlassian. But
But
they
I
take
guarantee you, they did not get rid of a single person who Mike said, "You're keeping this one."
I can challenge you on that one, Joshua, also because they won't know they need you until they fire you.
No. I think the essential thing that he meant is like, I think it's more like favoritism. Like you know who's in the inner circle.
That just means you're good at, well, you know what?
You're good at solving problems, or you're part of that inner circle or whatever, and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you also have FIFO for first in, last out, and first in, first out. There's all sorts. I've seen people get promoted and now be within the probation period for their new role, and therefore be up for being cut because their contract is far more easy to terminate them, rather than someone who's stuck in the same role for 5-10 years. There's all sorts of. All I'm underscoring is it's not. You be careful about feeling blessed because you think you're valuable. And in fact, your organization may shed you just because of economics. And that I think going back to the survival of the fittest, I don't think that's how the market's working right now, and hasn't for a couple of years. It's why we've seen so many people looking for job. Hell, whenever I go off and have a look at the CTO positions, there's like 200, 300 people applying. 5 years ago, there'd be 7, 10. And there's a lot of movement in the job market. And AI is disrupting the pattern. Really, that's what it's doing. Is it's making it look like you can trim down your team, and to the point that was made, people are rehiring, having realized, oh, that's not really working out for me, because the problem was never generating code. That's all these tools do, is generate things, right? And then they also use pattern analysis to work out what the next thing should be. You could have an entire company, and there are examples of companies out there that do all the bits. We talked about human in the loop, right? Well, what happens if there is no human in the loop? You just let AI do every bit, and you just build an agent for each bit, and you give it unlimited tokens. One, it's extremely expensive. It's actually more expensive to do that entire team, just due to the rate of token build and some other. There's this whole blog post about how that works and how they spent $1 million and they didn't have a $1 million worth value of a year's worth of output. But you also get something rather mediocre. If you've ever asked it to provide you tweets, great. It's great for inspiration, but they don't tend to be the zingers that you want to copy and paste, right? The same it's because it's that mediocreness. And I think we all know that our value is not consistent across everything. There are things that we're good at. Maybe you're the idea person and you're good at hearing 3 other things and coming up with a 4th, 5th, 6th. Maybe you're the person who likes diving deep and finding out what the real problem is that's behind. Or you understand instinctively the 5 whys of digging into what is it the customer's not asking for, but what do they really need to move forward. All of these different things we have in ourselves differently, and we have a mix and a diverse set amongst our teams, hopefully. But you need to know what yours is. And AI is really pushing you to work these things out and articulate them. Hiding in the shadows of just let me get on and bash out code, that's somewhat of a problem. I don't think that's going to happen lots more.
I do want to bring it all the way back to Atlas Camp.
That was an event that we were talking about
again.
You guys talked about all this during that week, right? Like, this is all like, what is the value of the developer?
It's definitely things we talked about at Atlas Camp, yes. But it's also something you see Atlassian is going for, like the way they see AI, they see Rovo, the way they talked about assigning stuff to agents and those kind of things in a way to like make them part of the team. But Atlassian also thinks still about the way of working, the system of work, and how that relates into the actual work. It's not they don't just want it to be some like similar like a philosophy like agile, but they eventually want to find a methodology and implementation for it. And I feel like
Finish.
That's where all of this is heading. That's where what Dan was saying, and like how we need to work with AI and how it's actually going to impact us versus how we think it's going to impact us is very different. Also, the fact yes, different cultures are going to work differently with AI, just like different cultures work differently with people. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to evolve too. And also, I agree what Dan said about burnout. Yeah, watch out for it, because it's too easy first to burn up all of your money with tokens, but also actually burn out your brain. So take it easy. It's okay.
Get that vacation home.
Trust
Take that
me,
vacation.
it
Come to
is.
Disney, folks.
It
Come
is
to Disney.
very, very preferred over the
Opposite.
Yes.
So if we go back to a while back, 7 minutes past the hour in the chat from also the Jira guy.
What are you
Sounds
doing all the way up there?
I remember because it connects.
Jeez,
I've
that was like
got
40
the-
minutes ago.
So sounds like we need to user ship it at Atlas Camp next year, and we did actually. That's exactly what this is. What the demos are, and
That's
so
the second half
you
of
have.
the event, right?
It's so for those that don't know, Ship It is Atlassian's hackathon where you get 24, 48 hours to go off and build something. At the end of it, you show it back and people vote on what they liked. It is basically that. In fact, you can do whatever you like for the Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday morning, you book a slot in the demos and you get 5 minutes to stand up and show what you've built. And people were playing with RoboDev. People were playing with building stuff out on the new containers, building stuff with real time. People were playing with the teamwork graph and building apps that install globally, using LLMs hosted on Forge to build high value features that still qualify for runs on Atlassian. It was fascinating watching all of these different things play out and seeing what people were doing. And it wasn't just app builders up there. Now, there were app builders up there, and most of the people doing demos were, but there were customers out there going, hey, we built a system that integrates Jira and gives us this particular view across all of our different tools. I saw someone came to us afterwards, and I wish they'd have done a demo. Peter and I were sat here going, I think he would have won the votes. It was they had built this full-page app that had built all their Jira stuff, Confluence, and for their documents for doing housing and tenancy management. But they were pulling in Zero. They pulled in Office 365 and Exchange. They had everything in the single pane, and they had an AI agent that was sitting there reviewing all of it and saying, here's what you should do next. And it was impressive, but also dumbfounding. My first question was, okay, where is it? Is it using Jira Assets for that? And he just said, I don't know. I don't even know where it's storing it.
The thing that flabbergasted me the most was the fact that neither of those two people were developers. They were just users of Jira. And like I said, they didn't even have a super deep knowledge of everything that's available and how you could do this and this and this. They just started with RoboDev and they started building with it. And it was amazing how much they built in 2 days. But
do you think Atlassian's going to put safeguards though, and like some limits, because very quickly, very easily, people that are maybe not as well versed will catastrophically do things?
Well, that's the point, right? Because it was really interesting hearing their next questions, which was great. So, what do we do with this? What do we do next?
Over the world dominant.
But this is very similar to what people were building when you had Microsoft Access, right? People were building Microsoft Access thinking they were product builders, and they were really just had this UI layer on top of a database. And I think that there is a massive opportunity for the community to step up and help there. Now, either help in the same way that the open source communities do, or offer commercial services to help build organizations and professionalism around people's ability to ideate. This is, if you look at some of the stuff that comes out of Sharif and Mansur and his team, and he's talking about all of his product owners being able to build functional prototypes of the things that they're building, because it gives you something tangible to play with. It gives you things. They're not handing it over going, here, take this solution, ship it, please. They're saying, hey, you've got what is a living, breathing prototype rather than a Figma proxy for reality, which leaves you with more questions than answers. And I think it's really interesting seeing when the product owners, I've seen one product owner start to work on building chatbots for internal use. So they're building chatbots that their developers can use, so they can talk to this proxy for a customer and say, is this what you wanted? And it's doing it this way. How is this helping your life better? And they've encapsulated the knowledge of what the problem domain of the target audience is into it. So the developer is now an inch away from customer empathy rather than a meter, and where we used to be a mile.
It's going to be great from a requirements perspective, but as long as we don't go to market with these things.
All we do, and it fails. I mean, how many times have we? You get burnt at some point, and some people get burnt late, and we'll realize what it's like. I mean, when the
cookbook go to market with everything, then we're gonna. But that means that the world and society is gonna be overwhelmed and inundated with just crappy things.
And those crappy things will be gone in a couple of months afterwards.
I mean, so
you just live with it.
We thought the same with laptop DJing, right?
DJ?
Yes, and so the idea of being able to do beat matching on a laptop automatically for you is erasing the skill of feeling the vinyl, and DJing is going to die. No, it didn't, and it hasn't. In fact, there's never been more music in this world than ever before. And actually, it is Jevon's paradox that states when efficiency comes in, consumption increases. It comes back from the era of the steam train, when they made a more effective and efficient coal engine, and they were like, "Oh, great, that's the industry dead, because we now can do the same amount of trains for 10% of the people." That's
so to go survive the next 100 years, study the last 200.
Jevon's paradox is what caused an explosion in public transport. And it is partly it is that particular invention, or the efficiency gain in the end, not the creation of the steam engine, but the efficiency that was made with that compoundation of the engine is what's attributed to the entire industrial revolution that came from it. And so we'll see again, watching these efficiencies come and what comes from it. And to Crazy Old Man's point, sorry, I don't know people's handles to their names.
That's Sean. That's Sean Doyle.
Hi, John. But the point of laptop DJs is not that they produce good music. The point is that there is more music available. There is more music produced.
And because go back to the point
about AI art, right?
And the thing is, it comes eventually down to the public to recognize the good music from the bad music, and give those DJs support and all of those things. It's no longer, it democratizes also this. Like, it's no longer for DJs, the record labels decide which is the good music. Everybody can now make and those.
Yeah. So we're gonna need a Patreon for Vibe Coders so that we can start funding our projects. Listener supported Vibe coded projects.
I think that people need to start believing in an optimistic future. And people, we get worried about change that's thrust upon us. We get comfortable within the value and with the comfort of what we have today. And yet, has been known for well over 1,000 years, that the only constant is change. And yet we still have not got used to change.
I'm just worried, how do I feed my family?
And that is a economic system that we have right now that is creaking at the seams. And regardless of AI, was already for an entire podcast we can do about socio-economic stuff. That
also history.
That's a rabbit hole we can't follow.
Anytime with the Jira Life.
But
Okay, here we go. 7 minutes. Dan's got the mic.
I'm giving myself 60 seconds. I'm watching it. There are 3 groups of people that currently sit inside of software engineers that are being disrupted. There are the people that are here for work. These are actually the dominant. These are the people that come out of university, said this is the place I can go and get paid the most. People who've transferred in from being product owners to being engineers, because you can triple your salary overnight just by being a junior. And so there's been a lot of people who come in and they close their laptop at 5 p.m. and don't care. There's the people on the other side. There's the people who are of craftsmen. And these are people who sit down and really care about the code. They love algorithms. They love learning and love the joy of code. Now, you can't take that passion away. Doesn't matter how often that a tool will do this for you. Of course, you're still going to find value and work. You just need to remind yourself it's not the code you create, it's the problem you solve, and you'll find your way. The interesting ones are people in the middle. These are the people who are the musicians who came, like Sam Aaron. He wrote a language, but he's a musician. He came from being a musician and did some writing music as code. And he was playing around with Super Collider and now has written his own thing. Sonic Pi is his thing. There's a whole ton of people who then they're architects, they are industry specialists, psychologists, lawyers. These are people who have come in with problems and technology has solved, and they've learned how to build stuff in technology as a need because they've had to learn programming as part of it. They don't anymore. AI is going to create an explosion of that middle tier. It's going to remove, and those people who were here just for work will find other work. The system will either provide or fail. That's the job of the system. The people who is their passion, the people who are the Fonz, who go home, work all day on other people's cars and go home and work on their classic car in the garage. People like me, I'll go off and hack on my home automation system after I don't get paid for that. It's a passion. That passion will never go. No matter whether AI is here, no matter whether AIDEs are here. We have compilers now compared to the assembly that I wrote when I was 5, 6, 7, 8. That passion will never go. But the value the world has for your passion might change. You just need to track it and follow it, and you'll do fine.
And hopefully you can feed your family.
We all do, Alex. We all do. And we live in interesting times. It is what it is. A lot of things are changing at so many different levels. But like you said, look back at our history and see how we handle change as a species and how you can handle change.
If you want, Inc., it used to be you get into tech in the noughties after the dot-com boom to pretty much now dive in, and we've had an explosion of the number of people in the tech world. That is rebalancing, and it really is. And I'm not sure I would tell someone who's going through college, go and learn a programming language. I'm not sure that matters as much as it used to at all. And so
study human psychology. Human psychology seems like the best next major.
Yeah, and teaching, nursing, there's anything that's human. Lawyer, watch out for that.
Ronnie, any closing thoughts? You've been quiet.
No. I've just been trying to absorb everything as fast as Dan's been putting it out.
Ronnie's just trying to figure out what's his next idea that he's going to be popping out this weekend.
Oh, I've already got like 3 on different tabs on the other monitor.
We promised you a few minutes at the end. Quick shout out here for if you're coming to Team 26. Make sure you get here at least by like 8 a.m. Sunday morning because we're going to have an awesome time with you all. And then there's other stuff happening while Dan's bringing that up. So yeah, come early, folks. So there's plenty of things to do before you get to Team 26.
So this is Harley's House running. So if you just search for Harley's House and Conference, you should find this. It's on tickettailor.com. And tickets are open now. If you don't find them, reach out to us. But next week, next Wednesday, the West Midlands Ace that I run is running an Atlas Camp Amsterdam 2026 recap. It's going to have far less talk about the future of economics than this, I hope. But we've got inside this, we've got a few speakers that said they're happy to do 10-minute versions of their talks. That's Oliver Steinbeck, Bree Hall, and Vasil from Tempo. And we'll also have lightning summaries from a bunch of champions and people that were there saying, hey, I went to Atlas Camp and here's what I thought was awesome and why I'd come back. And so, yeah, come along and hear more about Atlas Camp and a recap of what we learned.
Great.
Oh, sorry, West Midlands is Birmingham in the UK, but it's actually co-hosted by pretty much any European. I got thrown there. Yeah, so West
It's
Midlands.
will be virtual. You can join.
I forgot that it's not 11 p.m. for most of the audience. But yeah, so it's going to be the European time zone at 5 p.m., which that will be New York noon. And so, yeah, hopefully a bunch of people across America will be able to watch too.
All right.
Virtual. Cool. All right, folks. Again, come early to team. If you're coming to team, we have a lot of events for you. We have Harley Tiles. We have I'm hosting a workshop Monday and then a little mini conference on Tuesday. And then we got a whole week full of Atlassian stuff. So if you come in a team, do not make the mistake to not come early. You want to be here early. We might even do a barbecue at my house on Saturday. We'll see.
Good to know.
Absolutely.
Come early. That's the one thing I can tell you. Come early. All right.
I will not miss Team 26 this year.
Even if we have to chauffeur you in a ambulance across the country.
This year, I may actually take that.
All right, Ronnie.
Okay.
Sign us off.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for seeing us today. And as we say, we didn't choose the Jira Life. Jira Life chose us.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, Rodney, the Jira Guy Nissen, and Sarah, #I believe Sarah, right. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lena Ortiz. You can catch us as we record this podcast live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and the other Jiramigos of the Peanut Gallery each week to ask questions, add your comments, and tell us what you're up to. If you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. You can also find us as a podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you think this podcast deserves a rating, it would be much appreciated as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us. Thank you to Revise for backing us up and making the Jira Life possible.